Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're talking about kites, and kites are a type of quadrilateral. If you remember back to this chart we've introduced a few times, some quadrilaterals can be parallelograms, some can be trapezoids, and some can be kites. Today we are talking about kites. Some can be right kites, we won't get into that, but for right now we're going to talk about kites. So grab your notebook, please, and thank you. And I would love it if you would write down these properties of kites because that will help you solve some problems a little bit later. So the properties of our kites are, well, some quadrilaterals can be kites. Properties of kites, the sides. Consecutive sides are congruent, but opposite sides are not. So looking at our kite here, what that means is consecutive means one right after the other, right? So this side to this side, those are congruent. But opposite sides, this to this or this to this, those are not congruent. If they were, that would be a rhombus. So the angles, exactly one pair of opposite angles are congruent. And the way I've drawn this kite here is we have four angles in our kite, right? Because it's a four-sided figure. So it's, in case you get confused by this, it says exactly one pair of opposite angles are congruent. It's definitely not these ones right here because you can see this one's pretty small and this one's pretty big. This is an acute angle and looks like it's an obtuse angle. So it's not going to be these two angles right here. What it is are these two angles that come in between the mismatched sides there. And then the diagonals we know are perpendicular, so they create a 90-degree angle. So those are our properties of a kite. So how can we use that information? Let's take a peek. Grab your notebook, draw a kite out, and let's fill in this information. Okay, so the first part of this says if Ki is 13 and Ks is 5. So Ki is 13. I'm going to grab a different colored pen so that we've got this. Ki is 13. And then we know Ks is 5 right here. This guy is 5. Find SE. SE is this bit right here. Well, what we do know is that this IS is going to be the same as SE. So if we can find IS, then we know what SE is. And if you look at that, we have a triangle there. Let me redraw that triangle. We have this triangle right here where it says K, S, and I. And we know that this guy right here is 5 and this is 13. And we know that this is a 90-degree angle because kites, the diagonals of a kite form a 90-degree angle. Now, when we have a 90-degree angle, that means it's a right triangle. And if you have two sides, we, ta-da, get lucky and we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now remember, these are your legs, this is your hypotenuse, and your hypotenuse is always the side opposite your right triangle. So a squared plus, and it doesn't matter if this is a or b, your legs can be either. 5 squared equals 13 squared. So a squared plus 25 equals 169. Minus 25 from both sides. We end up with a squared equals, so we've got, I just like to make sure I don't make silly arithmetic errors. So we've got a squared equals 144. 144. So a squared, square root both sides, and we get a equals 12 there. All right. So for our a, which is this side right here, we have 12. So we now know that SI right here is 12, which means that because of the very definition of a kite and the diagonals of a kite, that SE is also 12. So SE equals 12. Okay, now let's talk about the degrees here. I've got those marked in red so you can see. The first thing that we know is 4. That's a pretty easy one that we can go ahead and just write in because we know that angle 4 is going to be a 90-degree angle because these diagonals form 90-degree angles. So angle 4 is 90 degrees. Okay, what can we do with that information from there? Well, I think we have enough information now to find angle 6. And what I mean by that is if this is 90 degrees and this is 72 degrees, this triangle here has a 180 degrees. So if we subtract those, we end up with 18 degrees for angle 6. The same applies here. Because this is 72, angle 5 is also 72 degrees. And because this is 72 over here, this is 90, that means 17 is the same as 6, which is going to be, or I'm sorry, angle 7 is the same as angle 6, which is going to be 18. Okay, now what about angle 3 here? Well, we know that this guy is 90 degrees. Do you see down here, we see that this is 51. So we know this is 90 degrees. So I think it'll actually help us to find angle 1 first. So if we take 180 and we minus 90 and we minus 51, we end up with 39 degrees. 39 degrees. And so that means that angle 3 here is also going to be 51, just like angle 5 was 72. So this is going to be 51 degrees. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry. That was for measure of angle 3. And so for the measure of angle 2 here, that is also going to be 39 degrees, just like angle 1. Hopefully that helps clarify some of those properties of kites. Good luck in your practice if you have questions, let your teacher know. Otherwise, great work, and we'll see you next time.